Good evening, friends. I sure hope you can hear me. I'll eventually hear you. Tonight, we're back at Fort Kirby, finally, after many adventures, being sick, having American football matches, so on and so forth. I've been very, very far away from our live stream universe. But also, friends, remember that with these live streams, if there's kind of nothing to say, I don't really want to fill the air. You know, I'm thankful that I don't have like some sort of weird schedule that I'm attached to. Like, it's like, oh man, it's Thursday. I have to talk for 2 hours about something. I can talk to you guys about kind of anything I want, whenever I want. So that's nice. But we have two major topics today that I think were worth waiting for to talk about. The first one was my participation in the St. Petersburg Economic Forum, a huge international event with huge international impact, which I'm quite proud of participating in. But more importantly, and real quickly, if you notice, both on the Tim Kirby Russia Hardcore channel and on the American Villages in Russia channel, you can see that there is a video, a new fresh video. Well, there's two fresh videos, but one of them is called You Can Move to Russia Right Now, and that's what we're going to talk about. But above that is the video, Are EU Sanctions Destroying Farming with Leonid Gogol? And it's a pretty interesting discussion about what the farming industry is like beyond sanctions and all that, with a Russian guy in that industry who actually speaks English really darn well. So that should be something that you will really find interesting if you find farming or sanctions or how this madness between Russia and the West actually works on a practical level. Very, very interesting. You should go listen to that right after this. In fact, why don't you go click on it now, open it in your browser if you're at a traditional computer, and wait till this is over and then watch it, because I think it's an interesting discussion. I had a good time. Anyways, but now we're going to talk about this other video that I just posted. I'm kind of going to say the same things now, but in that video, while it was still daylight outside, while I was still feeling kind of fresh, I wanted to lay everything out in one specific, very concise video, but we'll go over that here. So anyways, in thanks to the village, but not directly connected to the village, they've told me, and connected to the St. Petersburg Economic Forum and talking about the village on the forum, this sort of culmination with the forum happening and all this has created the spark that they told me that they're going to allow Western foreigners now to move here on a case-by-case basis. Because you have to remember back, one of the things I told you a few months ago was that we're not only collecting passports for the American village, but just in general, we're collecting passports to prove to them that people want to immigrate. Well, they asked for 100, and they got way, way, way more than 100. Let me tell you, way more. So anyways, now the thing is that essentially, if you're ready to rock and roll, if you are ready to move to Russia within 6 months, they were like, cool, get this person with the, again, the scan-in photo with your passport. Many of you have already sent that to me because you want to be part of the American village. And remember, this does not include you or exclude you or do something connected to the American village that's separate. This is just if you want to come to Russia now. If you want to come to Russia now and to join the village when it opens, it does not exclude you in any way or create any kind of problems, okay? Nor does it automatically include you either. Okay, it's not connected. It's just that now there is this sort of waiting list conveyor belt queue, as our British friends might call it. Although then again, when I worked in the television industry briefly in Pittsburgh, they also called it a queue. So, but at least when it was related to television, to videos being put on good old-fashioned TV back in the old days, back when everything was just turning into that 16:9 aspect ratio. But anyways. So essentially now's the time to strike. And especially, I bet some of you guys are going to have some questions about this. So if any of you want to do the raise your hand function, or as you know, if you go to Tim Kirby Russia Hardcore, say you're watching here and you comment under really any post, but especially the post that says, like Telegram live stream starts in 15 minutes. I will see all of those comments in what is called the chat. And that will bring everyone great joy. So, so I'll be able to answer everything that you may have. So if you have questions about that. But essentially, friends, this is sort of a moment of triumph. I don't have any champagne with me. but we did it. The American Village Project, which does seem like it's going to happen. Every day it seems more and more. We are drawing the general plan of, or what they call it, of the village. So essentially the architectural plan, going from my sort of whatever musings in Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop to an actual real plan. That will be done next week and submitted to the government. That's a major important thing. And the agreement by which we're going to be able to take control of the land and all that was already done on our side. I hired a real estate lawyer to do that, which reminds me, oh my gosh, if you look at either the American Villages Telegram channel or the Tim Kirby Russia Hardcore Telegram channel, look at that. There's the most recent post is from Boosty. Boosty is basically Patreon, but international, and many people have had success being able to donate money. I've changed my Boosty from the Tim Kirby Russia universe to being connected to the American Villages Project because I think it's more important, and that's something that definitely needs money because paying for lawyers even in Russia is not cheap. So help me pay off those legal fees, friends, because I have kids. So anyways, it would be much appreciated if you try to send me money over Boosty, or at some later point in time, try to contact me and send some Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, or other cryptocurrencies, because thankfully, for now anyways, they work in Russia. But anyways, so those two major steps about the agreement, the legal document about transferring the land on my side is done. It was sent to them. Now we're waiting for their response, the other side's response, and the general plan for the village actually would have been done tomorrow. But unfortunately, the guy who's drawing it, who's also drawing it, expecting to be paid later. So in some ways, he's actually sort of providing a donation, as it were, that will eventually be paid in cash. Unfortunately, he said his really good friend died in a motorcycle accident. So that's definitely some bad news there. And I mean, for him, not for the village. The village could live with a 5 or 6 day delay, but unfortunately, his friend died in a horrible motorcycle accident. So all the more reason I think motorcycling is not one of the best things you could do in Russia if you want to have a long, healthy life. But anyways, again, so our big news for today is that we now have this, essentially this line that goes directly to the halls of power, and they're one by one going to grab one family unit, review their case, work with them even while you're still over in your country of origin, first time ever, all thanks to mostly the American Village Project. Of course, there are other people who also have been helping me with this. We don't want to step on them and say that they're nothing there. But you know, the big shining jewel, the crown jewel, as it were, of this new wave of pro-immigration within Russia is the American Village Project. So I'd like to thank you all for being a part of it. And we did it. We changed Russian migration policy, at least for now. So, so we got this line going, and I've already had a few people contact me over that, and I will probably get to that tomorrow because I have to wake up really, really, really early tomorrow, which sucks because I don't want to, but I have to. One problem, friends, is that my life would be a lot easier if I made about 3 times as much money so I could hire employees. And if I wasn't constantly filled with surprises related to some sort of bureaucratic nonsense. And tomorrow is one of those days. And you're going to say, Tim, tomorrow is Sunday. How can there be bureaucratic nonsense on Sunday? There can be. So anyways, that's our first piece of news there. Let's see. Did anyone have anything to say about that? Christopher, if you sent Tim a passport scan, send Tim $100 on Boosty when you get your next paycheck. That would be very, very much so appreciated, guys, because this is real. It happened. I can't believe it. But, you know, one of the people that I've been working with over this, I don't know if she wants her name to be quite mentioned here or not, and her husband and Timur, the immigration lawyer, like, we did it. Like, it's actually happening. You actually really are going to be able to move here. However, I don't know if these people at the state, the State Duma, if they thought, well, we'll see if they could gather 100 names. Let's see if are they really ready to process like 1,300 people, 1,500 people? I guess we'll see, won't we? But yeah, not too many mentions, messages right now. That's okay. You don't have to comment if you don't want to. That's not obligatory. So, anyways, topic number 2 was the St. Petersburg Economic Forum, which took up 2 big days of my life, and it was very interesting and very exciting. On a personal note, because for some reason, I'll never understand this, people tend to be very, very obsessed with like these like personal issues and what did you feel about something. I don't quite get that, you know. If I had 5 minutes to talk to President Putin or someone, I wouldn't ask him, President Putin, what's your favorite kind of breakfast, or what kind of weather makes you feel the happiest? Like, you know what I mean? I don't understand that, but some people like that. So here you go. Here's your chance. It was my chance to feel very important because, surprisingly, compared to any other activity in my life, I've never felt like I've known so many people. Like, kind of people who were sort of fans came up to me. All sorts of people that I've had all these sort of like either business or political or just kind of like casual friendship kind of dealings with all came up to me. I saw some friends from Moldova and Italy, and even one of our former 2 people from the world of American football, our former cornerback, who's now been forced to work evenings and nights, so he's no longer the cornerback till his schedule can change. So I saw our cornerback there, and the guy who films all the American football matches in high quality that you can see on Cloud TV in America, or the Russian Bowl 2022, which was featured on OANN, real cable TV news in America. The guy who does all that, who's responsible for essentially filming everything we do at NCAA quality, that guy was actually filming at the big St. Petersburg Economic Forum for Sparebank. So he was filming all the Sparebank activities and making it, I'm sure, look gorgeous. Then again, the forum is kind of insane, and you have to kind of film everything with people walking around you, whereas with American football, it's a little bit easier to organize on some level. But anyways, he knows what he's doing, and so that was very weird. I really did not expect to see people from the world of the greatest sport that I know from a lot of face-to-face interactions. So that was cool. So let's say, yeah, I saw people from Moldova and Italy. I got to meet people from Turkey, and there were a lot of people. I'm not quite sure who, but there was a special session for Russia and the United Arab Emirates. So a lot of people in that sort of stereotypical Arab dress, I guess we could call it, moving about, so on and so forth. So, yeah. Oh, and one person who might even be watching now, who's written me before, an Australian who moved to Russia, good guy, and Austrian, the other Australia. Met an interesting Austrian guy. Saw my old friend, a French friend who I've known since I basically came to Russia, Alexander Lutza, whose last name kind of ever changes depending on his mood. And yeah, real cool. Met a lot of especially interesting foreigner mania. But anyways, maybe then what's more interesting about me talking about how I know everyone and tooting my own horn, as they call it, is I had 2 sessions I participated in. Session number 1 was about tourism in Russia. It was one of the easiest things I've ever done because every speaker had like 5 minutes to talk, and that goes quick. That goes real quick. So essentially, you know, got kind of asked some questions about like, well, you know, tourism in Russia. What were some things that are impressive? You know, and I kind of mentioned how I think the most impressive thing from the standpoint of tourism is the little fishing town of Teribirka, which, you know, I should probably, if I'm going to talk about this, maybe I should try to find it. Let's go to rumble.com, and I wonder if I just look for Murmansk. Will my videos come up on Rumble, or is there something? Oh my gosh! Well, there's let's see, Northern Lights. So, anyways, let's make sure. No, we don't need sound. Hold on. Is this the video that features Teribirka? Yes, it is. Okay, so I guess starting at about 6 minutes and 38 seconds in, I'll put this in the main chat because there's really nowhere else to put it. So here we go. Teribirka. And I know it sounds stupid to say it that way in English, Teribirka, but unfortunately that's the way it is. So we all have to deal with that. But you guys can watch that, and that's about this fishing village that was featured in the some kind of like Oscar award winning movie from like 2013 called Leviathan. And of course, who is the Leviathan? That's the whole reference to your Thomas Hobbes and your brutal overlord leader. And essentially, this movie sort of heavily showed the true state of Russia from a liberal standpoint of this isolated, like, I want to say fishing village, but if you only go for like crab and shrimp and those other sea creatures that aren't fish, is it still fishing? Grammatical question. Is it still fishing? Because I don't know. I wanted to call it crabbing, but that sounds kind of gross. So anyways, these people go diving for sea creatures there. And so at the time of the film, it was a pretty, depressing place. But ironically, like because of the film, it became sort of famous for being the worst place in Russia. And so people start to go there. And so as you'll see in the video, a picture's worth 1,000 words and maybe a video's worth 10,000. Like there's a very nice restaurant where now the local divers can sell you for a good price all of the sea creatures that they caught. And there's the northernmost brewery in the world, and there's multiple hotels for other people who want to try their hand at fishing up there. And there's all sorts of tourists who go around to the boat graveyard because it's scary and all this other stuff. And so it's turned into this extremely successful sort of tourism project. So I mentioned that, and I also mentioned how I think the Chuisky Trakt, that big highway, oh boy, let's see. Maybe I should put that up too, because we're talking about it. There's no point in sort of keeping things a secret or being mysterious. Because some people actually watch these videos I make. What, did we not even put it up on Rumble? It has to be here. The Chuisky Trakt Highway. I mean, come on. It's got to be. Oh, okay. Maybe it's an older adventure than I thought. Tula, Murmansk. Yeah, the Golden Ring. Yeah, we did that. Around Moscow. What is going on? What? Oh, here. Well, that's just like the promo for it. Oh, here we go. Ah, come on. Come on, Rumble. Oh, for some reason, it's like the very first video. Amazing. So anyways, on the main channel, the other thing I mentioned was how the Chuisky Trakt Highway, or Chuya Highway, as it's written on the icon of the video, is actually something that is a really good blend of where you actually get this, I think, the proper interaction between your like government and then small business and then the media. Because the government were the ones who took this highway, which was, it was just a bunch of rocks. It was a gravel carved out road that they made during Stalin's time to sort of, move resources through the Altai Mountains. But this road was, designed essentially for only like heavy trucks, for trucks that could really do off-roading. And it was essentially a kind of like slow moving 25 mile an hour Silk Road kind of route. And now, as you'll see in the video, it's like a very nice federal highway where you can drive real fast, especially because no one's going to catch you. And it's, along this, the first thing, made this really nice road that goes all the way from like Barnaul through the whole Altai Mountains to the border of Mongolia. And essentially around this perfect highway that allows easy traveling. It allows people to visit the region very easily. Not surprisingly, all these cafes and rent-a-hut hotels. I don't even know what to call that. This seems to be more of a Russian phenomenon, but like rent a little home, cottage by the road type of like hotels have sprung up all over the place. And so I mentioned that like sometimes people, when they talk about tourism in Russia, they want the government to do everything. And this is the perfect example of the government doing what it's supposed to do. And then the private sector coming in and doing what it does best, is making all this really nice little sort of infrastructure for you to stay, helping, go see stuff and parking and places to eat and all that stuff. And then the third part of this, then you get these people like us, which are the media, who come there and film this and then sort of spread the idea around that gets more people to come. And I think that particular project really shows this interaction between these three parts of society: government, private sector, and the media, all kind of coming together, and it's really exploded. And I mean, if you go and you look on Yandex or whatever, and you follow some of the roads, you're going to see these little places where you can eat and these little places where you can stay, and they're next to a lot of interesting stuff. So, I thought that was a really good example. Two interesting success examples that Russia should take into consideration for the future. I'll put it that way. Because the other one was the opposite. It didn't go government, private sector, media. It went media, private sector, and not really much from the government, to be honest. Maybe if I sort of think longer about it, maybe there is some sort of governmental thing. Well, they did build a new school there, so life got a lot better for your school children there. So maybe I guess the governmental stuff probably came last. As that village started to sort of revitalize, then that gave the government the excuse to sort of rebuild stuff. So that's the opposite sort of chain of events, which I didn't mention, but I probably should have. Oh well, hindsight's 2020. But anyways, one thing that was kind of annoying is I've actually kind of have been a fan of hers for a long time. And let's see. Yeah, Yelena Lituchaya was there. And she's like been the host of a bunch of shows, including stuff kind of related to travel. I'm not going to share her name on the main channel because it'll just confuse people. So I'm going to leave it as a comment under the place where you should all be commenting, under the thing that says Telegram live stream starts in 15 minutes. If you want to see who she is, you know what I could just do? I could just do a screen share. Why am I being stupid? I can just share the screen. Oh my gosh. So anyways, let's do that. So, we grab that. We put that over there. We grab this. And in fact, why didn't I just share the screen for the other videos? Why did I go ask you to go somewhere else to watch them? That was also dumb. But anyways, so this is her, and the first thing she said when she got on stage was, actually, the Leviathan movie was a really some kind of brilliant drama, and I disagree with this other panelist. I kind of wanted to. I really like the shows that this woman does, but it also shows how deep down there's this thing called the Tusovka, which is kind of like the scene, as you'd say in English. Are you part of the scene? And that was the most part of the scene thing you could say. I found it personally utterly disgusting that she goes up there and defends this liberal trash who made a movie for the specific purpose of projecting Russia as a whole as being this absolute nightmare hellhole place. So, Yelena, I'm sorry. I think you lost a fan on this one because that was really lame. Also, you called out my name personally, which is we don't do that. None of that stuff. None of that smack. Big Papa does not take smack, not from anyone. I don't care how nice your stomach looks or how famous you are or how much more money you have than I do. So anyways, I forgot about, so let's actually take a look at the highway then, rather than me being a twit. Go, highway, go. Oh my gosh. So anyways, so we're going to show the highway, or are we not going to show it? That is not the highway. That is where the bridges they built in the 1920s as an experiment. Are we going to see the highway? No, I guess we're not going to. Oh, here it is. Oh, no. Well, we could do skiing. Well, there's a little place where you could stay. Ooh, horsey. Horsey. Oh, here we are back on the road. Let's wake up and go back on the road. Yeah, you can have your local musicians play and stuff. And here we are back on the road. This is all right by the road, by the way, which was amazing. Very time effective. And we're not showing the road. This thing was also a very short walk from the road, less than a kilometer. Amazing. So that's just the kind of things that I was showing there. This was a 2-part episode, and that's only 1 part, but whatever. I think you kind of understand the point. So anyways, let me get back and see, because no one has their hand raised. Remember, if you use the raise your hand function, you can talk to me if you have some kind of questions. Our overall topics today are finally people can move to Russia who aren't married to a Russian citizen. It happened. Thanks to the St. Petersburg Economic Forum, thanks to the American Village, thanks to support from people like you, thanks to people like Father Joseph Gleason, thanks to the Rose family, probably some other people I'm forgetting right now, Duma Deputy Kuznetsov. There's a lot of people. But anyways, Yeah. Oh, someone does want to talk. SSDD. Hello. You want to talk? Hello. Hello. SSDD. Perhaps you're still muted?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Hello to you. Hello to your audience. I'm from Russia. I'm Russian citizen, and I'm really excited what you really doing. And one point what I want to say and clarify it for your audience. Pardon me for my bad English.
It's okay.
But
it's okay.
Anyway, my point is your audience need to understand that in Russia, Russian people don't hate, don't afraid, don't know how it says, but anyway, we are glad. We are. Pardon me, I'm stuck in my.
What you mean to say is that people here aren't hateful towards the West, and that they're glad to have people who want to be here come here. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That. Yeah, of course. And if you will to go to Russia, we're glad to come. Not come. We're glad to view your point on lifestyle, on many ways, because we maybe from one part we different, but we are similar in same way. Yep.
All right.
And Tim, thank you very much for
dude, I'm trying. We're getting close here. We're getting close. And again, I'm going to mute you, not because you're a bad person, but because background noises destroy my mind. But thank you very much. And yeah, that's one thing I try to tell you is that, well, first off, no matter where you go, you're always going to meet someone who doesn't like you. That's some sort of weird thing. You know how, have you ever seen how like sometimes dogs will walk up to other dogs and then one certain dog just kind of smells another dog and tries to kill it. I think with human beings, I think there's some sort of factor with that. So there's no place you'll ever go on earth where everyone likes you. But overall, there really isn't this the attitude that Washington has of either you're with us or you're against us, and if you're against us, you're the enemy. And unfortunately, the enemy of these, unfortunately, now the attitude of these weird Chinese bots that I'm watching, which who knows, maybe it's some kind of anti-Chinese plot of some way. But anyways, you don't really encounter people who are very like sort of jingoistic about that stuff. One thing that Russian society knows is that sometimes the government does what you want, and then sometimes it just kind of does what it does. And I think Russians can really understand that, especially after the experience of communism. Like how often were the Soviet people like, yes, we want to have apartment buildings with apartments that are so small that you can barely take off your coat. We want to have way too few cars, so few that all the people that can afford to buy them can't buy them. You know, no one asked for any of this crap. They did ask for stuff like having nice schools and a good educational system and other stuff, but not so much that. Anyways, someone else wanted to talk who had also had was it Bokani Dube? I'd want to say Dube, but it's probably Dube. Hello, Bokani. You're on, Bokani.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Oh, yes.
Sure.
Yes. So, my question really is in relation to the birth rates in Russia.
Yeah.
So as you know, the globe is facing a decrease in birth rates. You know, especially all across Europe, to some extent Asia and Latin America. but you have, let's say, continents like Africa, where you see an increase in birth rates and the doubling of the population by 2050, and also another massive increase by 2100. So in terms of Russia, right?
Yeah.
And as I checked last time, that even though there's been an improvement on the birth rate, which is still on the decline, for Russia to be Russian, to have its own people existing on that land, what is the government doing to increase the birth rate of the Russians?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
All right. Let me get into that. Hold on. I'll mute you. You can come back on later. So what is the government doing? Well, first off, I have to tell you that I don't think, and I disagree with the government, I do not think that the measures that they're taking actually really respond to the problem. But this is what they're trying to do. One of the main things that they did back a long time ago, many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, was create this thing that they called something like motherhood capital or whatever, where basically for every child you have, especially after the first, or the more you have, the more you get. And it's this sort of sum of money. Now, many times you'll see this in the media being sort of really condensed down to being like the Russian government pays people to have kids. Not quite. This money can be used for a lot of things, but essentially the real sort of top tier function for it is to buy a place to live, because that money can be used to go towards, no. The money is used, and this is one of the things where it makes it a little kind of frustrating. It is sort of reimbursed when you buy a place to live. So say you have 4 children. I think that might be a lot of money. Oh boy, let's see. Let's ask the computer. Maybe the computer knows. Материнский капитал, четвертый ребенок. Okay. Let's see. Oh, so it's like the first kid's like 500,000 rubles, and then all the other kids after that are 775. So we have to get out our friend, what's this, Mr. Not Windows key, calculator. There's a special button combination on this keyboard that opens the calculator, and I find that amazing. 550 plus 775 equals. So that's 2.8 million rubles. Now, again, what does 2.8 million rubles really mean? Because I was looking in regards to my kid's soccer career, I recently looked for some homes in Krasnodar and Rostov, which are both warmer than Moscow, sort of medium-sized towns, but towns that also have a lot more houses than they do apartments. And these are all places within the city, this, that, or the other. And there were a lot of places that were like 3 million rubles for like 100 square meters, 120 square meters homes, so pretty decent size, well-made like homes and stuff, and apartments of sort of like the 100 square meter variety for about 3 million rubles. So essentially, if someone were to have 4 kids in not Moscow, that would pay off a very, very large percent of a mortgage, and especially if they spread then the rest of that money out over 15 years, like they're going to have very, very super duper duper low mortgage payments. Okay, so that's really the benefit that the government's trying to provide to people. Now, does this actually work? Kind of. Obviously, people use it. The birth rate in Russia has increased. That is for sure. But one thing, Bakani, that you have to remember is that all statistics about Russia are wrong. They are all lies. They are all manipulated. They are all at best half-truths. That's why I try not to, maybe sometimes I do fall into this trap and I'm a hypocrite, but I try not to be too jumping on the statistics boat. Like, for example, recently they released that the wealth gap between the richest and poorest Russians went down. That I shared because even if the statistics are bad and calculated badly, as long as they're sort of calculated badly across the board, and they see that there's this drop in the gap between rich and poor, however they calculate that, even if it's stupid, that reflects reality. Okay, that reflects some reality that there is some sort of major condensing going on between the richest rich and the poorest poor. Okay, but a lot of other statistics, it's just not really worth talking about. Again, it's one of these things where you just kind of have to. Russia something that who said that? Which famous person said Russia is something that has to be believed in? Oh man. Can't remember. It's escaping the life of me, but it's one of my least favorite things on earth because it's the ultimate excuse to be intellectually lazy. But it's sort of like, you can't understand Russia with the mind. It's just something that has to be believed in. Oh man, who said that? I can't remember. But anyways, so with statistics about birth and all that, I don't know, man. You go around and you see a lot of women with babies. You meet a lot of people who have 3 or 4 kids. Again, like, there are definitely plenty of our Sarah Jessica Parker women here too, but I don't think the situation is that bad. It really doesn't seem as bad. And again, if we look at the special military operation, on paper, Russia should have been utterly destroyed, that it has no military, it has no economy, it has no of anything, and yet it does. And all demographic information about Russia shows that it's facing the ultimate collapse and the extinction of Russians. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, Bakani, was there something else you wanted to say? You could raise your hand again. But if I covered that issue, yes, you do. Okay, so here you are. You're back. Oh, my gosh, you're back. Hello.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Thank you so much for the answer. So I was saying that the reason I was asking this is because, first of all, even though I'm quite African, I'm very much Russian, and I've researched much about Russian history, and I kind of love Russia. So it was one of the reasons why. Secondly, I want to ask you this question. So, if we go to other countries, for example, I come from Africa, right? Parents who have kids, right, or who decide that they want to have kids, they not only want kids just for the sake of having kids. They might want kids so that they may help them at the future. Let's say in the plantation of crops. But the other thing is they are very much interested in preserving their own identity, the nation, the language, the names, the surnames, the cultures, and the traditions, and all the stuff which goes along with it. So in Russia, like collectively, right, as a holy Russia, a Eurasian country, what is the main purpose of having a child? Like, what does it mean to have a child in Russia? To have a child or children being born?
Okay. Well, Bakani, here's the thing. You already sound like a person that I'd really like and is the kind of person that we need to have in government, because you actually are posing the question of sort of, why are we doing something? What the hell are we doing? What does this mean? And unfortunately, that is not a question or methodology that is used by people who are bureaucrats. They don't do that. They are very... I'll put it this way. They're like, someone convinced them that cigarettes are bad. We need to create a mechanism to punish people so they stop smoking. But we also kind of need to keep the cigarette industry afloat because it makes money. And that's where we get into this thing of, it's like, well, we'll keep them legal, but we'll start ever increasing the taxes. And but then the question is, okay, well, then theoretically, does someone have the right to smoke? Does someone have the right to maybe even do something that's destructive? La 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 la. Don't listen. They don't listen. They don't care. And so you are very much trying to think of the Russian government in terms of it being this like club of philosophers and ideologues who really think about what they're doing, which are more like the people like me, versus something that's extremely brutally bureaucratic. And so they don't even think about that. I think that what you're talking about is very important on the side of the media, because one of the things is that my sort of first crusade in Russia has been about immigration. But the next crusade that I'm trying to do, because I'm trying to actually get an entire TV program about this financed. We'll see if that happens. But I'm working with people who are from the universe of the comedy club, which actually kind of has its own TV channel now. So if this ever gets approved and actually gets on, whether it be Russian TV or RooTube or VK or something as this like big program, one of the missions that we have to tell people is we have to say that, like, you know, we have to break through this propaganda and say that children do have a purpose. Because one thing what I served as the Peace Corps in Kazakhstan is that poor people in the village, be they Muslim or Christian or one of the rare others, they all knew that, like, you need to get married and have kids because who the hell is going to help you when you're old? And that is something that idea, I think, is also very important. And we also have to have more ideas that speak to women, because women have been utterly destroyed by this culture of Cosmopolitan magazine, Sex in the Big City, what else, where it's like, you know, you could have your cake and eat it too, and you need to have a career and this, that, and another. What if your husband leaves you? We need to really combat that. And one of the things that works with combating that, and especially when it comes to women, is fear-mongering. Women tend to get more motivated by fear than even men do. However, of course, we have to obey certain principles and fear-monger using the truth, which is, dude, if you walk around Moscow and you will see some 70 or 80-year-old women who for some reason didn't have children, how they live versus grandparents, elderly people who do have children, the difference is night and day. Try living on 20,000 rubles a month in Moscow, even if you own your own apartment. Try doing that when you're 80 and your legs don't work and your back hurts and you're tired and maybe you're even starting to become a bit confused about what's going on around you. You see what I mean? So, yeah, I think that it's very much necessary, like you said, Bakani, to take these sort of things that you mentioned and push them into the public. It's really a matter of the media, because what destroyed the family? People could argue that, well, it was the Industrial Revolution, because the Industrial Revolution forced the family to behave in a different way, and we kind of did a crappy job of finding solutions. But I would say that even more so, it was really the media that continues as the real destructive force of the family. I think on some sort of maybe more genetic, instinctual, or like within their cultural traditions, generally people could sort of find a way to make things work in a modern context, but it's the real media that destroys the family. Anyways, Bakani, how about last time speaking here, man? You're back on, but last time, and we'll give someone else a try, okay? Was there something else you wanted to add, or was I off base or something?
Oh, yes. No, absolutely. You were all right about this. Yeah, I just want to say one last thing, and then I'll just cut it and, and your chance. So I was saying that, once again, I'm an African. I love Russia. I've read its history, and I want Russia to continue to be Russian with its peoples, its cultures, its traditions, and so forth, right? As I was saying, or as I wanted to say, I am a nativist. A nativist, as you know, is someone who believes that the native people of the land should be the ones who can have, the privilege. And not only are they the ones who are the inheritors of what their ancestors built, but they're obliged to build on the foundation which was set by their ancestors in that land, and should be done by the native peoples. So I'm saying this because I'm really much concerned, but I believe that, as you said, that the statistics might be wrong, and it may be forced and all that stuff. All what I wish is for Russia to exist, and the only way for Russia to exist is to have a family, and families create kids, and when you have kids, you instill the values of their ancestors, and not only to instill them, but to make sure that when they grow up, as the Bible says, that train up a child in the way he should go, so that when he grows up, he will never depart from it. That's what I want Russia to be. I'm not saying Russia isn't that way, but I just wish that it is more over, let's say, more oversight to the peoples, so that Russia might continue as a nation. And that's what I wish as an African person. I come from a land which was kind of freed by Russia from the British rule. So as a person, I would like Russia to exist, to remain Russian with its cultures, its peoples, its republics, its traditions, its songs, its names, its surnames, everything under the Russian banner of victory, morally, economically, and in every other aspect of the Russian land. That's what I want to say.
Thank you very much. That was a powerful one, man. Anyways, thank you very much. All I can say is about nativism. Then you probably support this concept that Russia has of having these sort of ethnic republics in it, whereas within we sort of have an ethnic, Chechen republic within Russia, where the rules are a little bit different. They can sort of make their own custom laws, and so everyone can sort of find their way. I am one of the weird people where, since all my ancestors came from Eastern Europe, I'm a foreigner, yet I'm also a native, which makes things weird when you're talking about me. So I understand that. Bakani, many years ago, before a certain illness took over the planet, I had a discussion with a Georgian philosopher who speaks amazing English. I don't quite know how, but a Georgian philosopher speaks amazing English. I'd love to have the guy come back on the show, but with the whole war thing, it is a little scary for him to sort of speak out because of his, I wouldn't say his views are pro-Russian, but in a world of madness, if you're even 2% pro-Russian, that means you're 100% pro-Russian when it comes to certain idiots in authority in Georgia. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, he sort of made the idea that really the core of any new political system that we create or going forward really needs to be the family. He was sort of like, we have federal, in Russia, the terminology is different, but the idea is the same. You sort of have federal authorities, and you have state authorities, local authorities, but he said that the next level is the family, and the family is sort of its own little part of the state and is very critical. And I think that kind of lines up very much with what you're saying, because, the family is really the most sort of basic unit of everything. And in some ways, as a father, families do kind of become this weird little country of their own, where certain people are involved in the production of this or the production of that. And there's certain expectations between certain parts of society. And it kind of works out to be something like that. So, we have a lot to do, Bakani, in terms of the family. But one of the most important things is in the media. By far, hands down, the work has to come by the media, because every Russian woman has seen Sex in the City. And again, I bring that one up. I'm sure there's a lot of other things for women that don't exactly portray things in a good light. Like, for example, with the Twilight, I mean, it's kind of corny, but again, Twilight is sort of an unhealthy fantasy, because it has the female hero who essentially kind of does nothing, and then she has these two powerful, dangerous monsters fighting for her heart and all this other stuff, when she essentially does nothing and is a completely passive player in all of this. And trust me, ladies, if you want to have some sort of really powerful, interesting, intense, awesome husband who's just like a big shot kind of guy, you're going to have to go out and get him, because there aren't many of those guys. You know what I mean? So that was kind of like a woman's sort of, I don't know if we want to call it a power fantasy. It's kind of like the female power fantasy of just, I'm going to do nothing, and these super amazing alpha male guys are all going to fight for my attention, and then the best one wins. That's like ultra like hypergamy female power fantasy. Trust me, male power fantasies, there's plenty of those. In fact, I think there's probably even more of them, especially if you open the door to the world of anime, which is basically all male power fantasy. So I'm not going to say that men don't have their own mental poison going down their throats about relationships and all that. But I think we really need to, but I still think number one is nothing even competes. No harem anime, no Twilight, no those stupid, terrible Hugh Grant romance movies from like the late 90s, early 2000s. None of that compares. Sex in the Big City was seen by every Russian woman, and you can just see the influence everywhere. So that's our number one target for intellectual attack by far. But of course, a lot of this stuff applies to men too. And I think that's also another problem, is that whenever we talk about demographics issues, we always talk about women and motherhood when men are a big part of this. Men are a real big part of this. It's kind of like you don't know how many women I've heard. Now, again, this is what they say, not necessarily what they actually believe or what actually happened. But they'll tell me, well, I only really had like 1 or 2 kids with my husband because he was kind of useless and lazy and I had to work a bunch. Or I even know one person who's like, I love my Chihuahua too much because my husband refused to have kids. I was like, well, why? Well, it's just like, well, so I was like, well, why'd you stay with him if you wanted kids and he didn't, he wouldn't let you? So like, well, he sure had a lot of real estate. Oh, that's something right there. Oh my gosh, we're going to start a red pill dating channel right there. That probably triggered some. If Rich Cooper, if you're actually that bored as you're listening to this, that one's for you, buddy. So anyways, a lot of these relationship issues or issues of why people don't have more children, a lot of the blame is on the male gender. And in some ways, when men are sort of more aggressive and guys are like, they go out and they get the house and they have a job that provides to the wife and they're like, wife, I'll take care of everything. You just got to cook and clean. We're going to have a bunch of kids because I said so, because I'm the leader. Don't worry about it. You got nothing to fear. The leader is here and all that stuff. Then people tend to have more children. So I think masculinity is also part of it. But still, Sex and the City is number one. It is. There's nothing that's ever been created that is more destructive to the family. So, but men definitely play their part here too. So, anyways, I'm going to look at the questions that you may have. Oops. Let me get rid of that. No, go away. And I will see if there's anything in the chat to respond to. And if there's just nothing, then I won't respond. Boosty is banking from Europe for U.S. folks. You may need to authorize the transfer from your bank. Yes, again, guys, we're having a major breakthrough with immigration here. We're putting in a ton of effort. The village is starting to incur a lot of expenses. Could you please make a donation on Boosty? It is on the Tim Kirby Russia Hardcore channel. Send some money via Boosty, especially if you want to send a little bit every month. That's fantastic, too. If you want to make a one-time donation, that's also so perfectly acceptable. So Tuchev said that umom Rossiyu не понять. So that Tuchev said that you can't understand Russia with the mind. Here it is. Умом Россию не понять, аршином общим не измерить, у ней особенная стать. В Россию можно только верить. So let's see. With the mind, Russia cannot be understood. You can't measure it in inches. It has a special state of being. In Russia, you can only believe in it, or something like that. So, yeah, that was the quote I could not remember earlier because I'm terrible with quotes. I was going to say Eric Swalwell, but I'm glad you found it first. Maybe. Sowell. Now, Mr. Was it Thomas Sowell? No, that's my man. Sowell. If you're watching, if he's watching, if Thomas Sowell is watching, that'd be amazing. Can Tim also set up a Russian bank direct deposit? Ben, if you are willing to talk to me, DM me. Ben, if you're inside Russia and you want to just send me money directly, yeah, I can do that. But Boosty works within Russia as well, just so you know, if that's easier. Following loosely a bit now, Tim, are you a vet as one? No, Zippy. I am not a veteran. Maybe I have a lot of macho bluster, but nah, man. I was on a Russian reality show where I was in the army for a week. I hated every minute of it. The military is definitely not for me. As one, Zippy continues, as one, many I have spoken to agree, Russia has become the land of the free. And in a lot of ways it is. Obviously, you will run into the government on certain issues. But I tell you what, on a daily life kind of thing, feeling a lot of freedom here, man. Or at least I am. Yeah, it's just like the USA, both snow all year round. Well, not in summer. In summer, it's really hot. It's like plus 27 outside. Celsius. It's very chilly even in October when I went last. Okay. Just like the U.S., no, Russia has far more freedom than the U.S., which has become a hidden dictatorship. It's kind of like the old America, man, when no one cared. Yana Nismianaya. I watched Sex and the City because my family watched it. Your family watched it. What a terrible program to watch with your father. There's a lot of self-touch involved, but could never relate. I don't think many normal Russian... Oh, no, you don't think... Oh, Yana, this is the female naivety bomb coming in. I don't think many normal Russian women could relate to it. Mm-hmm. That show is related to by a lot of women. Yes, but yeah, it was a big hit because of the outfits. No. Not only. New York is a world of its own, a city where dreams are made of. Maybe. Most of it was alien and weird. There was a movie, Escape from New York. Maybe this would be of interest to you. Of course, Escape from New York, Kurt Russell. Come on, New York. Which is what inspired Solid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid series, of course. In fact, Escape from New York is probably more important because the Metal Gear Solid games are amazing. Thank you, Hideo Kojima. You may be a weird, strange, kind of Russophobic man, but you've done a great job. Boosty works fine with an American credit card, says Redouin Bedouin. Pete, New York is a hellhole. It's also very stinky and very, very tough to drive through. Total something now, trust me. Nismian. Oh my gosh. That's a tough word to say. Smiatsa is fine. It was only 3 of us, all women. Oh, I was gonna say I have good girlfriends then, solid and smart. So only women in your family were watching it. Well, that makes sense. Trust me. Definitely. It's also one of those things where I think when women might get like when women are kind of disgusted by men who are like, oh man, look at that chick walking by, I'd like to bang her, like stuff like that. That's like the female equivalent of it. It's just so gross that you're just like, oh, I gotta leave the room, because she's like, I've got to break up with him. He farted at least twice in the last 24 hours. I must throw this man in the dumpster to show how much better I am than all men. It's like, oh man, get this out of my face. Escape from New York is like one of those movies that will come true in the future. New York will be like this. That'll be turned into a prison. Well, not just that, because remember, New York is turned into a sort of a hellish environment in Escape from New York and Judge Dredd. But to be honest, Judge Dredd is pretty over the top, but I think Judge Dredd also says a lot about human nature, which is kind of terrifying. So, yeah, I think that's pretty good. Is anyone else raising their hand? Because otherwise, I think it is time for me to leave. Anyone else? Okay. So this is, Aurelian wants to talk. And Aurelian, you're going to be our last speaker because I'm already kind of getting tired. And if I'm tired, then this program's going to suck.
Yeah, sure.
Straight up. All right.
Hey, how's it going? I was just going to say, pertaining to what you were saying about the family and, like, you know, how men going out of their way to just say, I'm in charge, I'm going to take care of things, you do this and I'll take care of the rest. I think that there's an economic aspect to that kind of has to be in place as well, because as a guy, my experience as a young guy, it's kind of hard to do that in places like the West now. Like, you know, how can you do that if you can't find a decent job that keeps up with inflation? How can you do that when you're priced out of buying a house or even buying land in the majority of the places where you can find a decent job? So,
okay. You know, well, let me try to answer here. I'm muting you again, not because you're a bad person. You can come back after I'm done there. But again, these background noises destroy my ability to think. So about that, you know, what can you do? Well, one of the things that I think is a certain ugly reality of things, and trust me, I remember what it was like being 16, where as a young man and stuff, you are consumed by lustful desires, and you feel like you'll do anything to release those desires or whatever. But the reality is, men, we need to also propaganda to program men that from about 16 to 30, you got to build up your life. I was someone who myself was locked into the, as they would call it, blue pill propaganda. And so I really messed up my life because I already had the whole wife kids thing going before I had a career. And that was a massive, massive mistake. We need to, when we're young and full of energy, we need to focus on getting that cash and getting everything set up and then grabbing the wife. And so I think that that's a huge part of it. Now, you might then answer to that, well, Tim, if you look at the breakdown of incomes, that logic holds true for maybe half of men, but half of men are never going to have this income where they can support a wife and just tell her sit at home. So when it comes to that sort of stuff, that's the kind of thing where I think in society we need to then have more of an agreement. But I would still say that it's that sort of male confidence and I'll put it this way. Women are very, very scared by decision making. I've known a lot of women who, in order to make decisions that as a man would seem just like nothing, women really, really sort of go back and forth in their mind. In fact, there was a sort of interesting documentary I watched that said that the female mind actually, when thinking about decision making, actually really does go back and forth between both hemispheres really, 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 really quickly and constantly. And so with women, the sort of decision making thing is kind of not their bag. And even if someone comes up and let's just say they again follow my advice there, and they're in their late 20s or they're 30, and they're kind of middle class, which isn't that great anymore, but they still tell the woman, look, honey, we're making this much amount of money. We definitely want to have you be at home. Let's try to find some way to sort of budget this out. Or maybe while the kids are still really little, you could be at home. Or again, another thing is, where did the multi-generational household go? Where'd that go? Because that's a huge answer to a lot of these problems. You know what I mean? I really am disgusted when I hear people who claim to be traditionalists talking about the nuclear family. The nuclear family is not traditional. The sort of open family where you have like relatives close by, or even like your grandparents living with you or something, that sort of more grayer structure, that's how our medieval ancestors actually lived. The whole one wife, one husband, only the kids in the house, that's a product of post-World War II. So that is not the way the world works. So we also have to have the multi-generational household thing. And old ladies need to know that part of being an old lady is sitting at home with the kids. That is a huge help, because there's a big difference between some random woman you hire to take care of your kids and their own grandmother, you know? So again, it's a bigger picture of going back to what actually traditionally worked. But regardless, if a guy comes out and he says to the woman, we're having kids by the end of the year, she's going to go along with it. Generally, but of course with some exceptions, but generally when men are sort of in that more leadership sort of capacity, things tend to work out better for having more children. If men are kind of passive and they don't know what they want to do, and I don't know, I want to play video games, maybe later, then women sort of instinctively know that this guy's not going to take care of me. He's going to crack and he's going to leave, and they don't give birth. So male aggression is a big part of this demographic issue that if I actually am able to put together this TV media program going, trust me, men are going to get it too. They're going to get their end because generally a lot of problems that happen in modern relationships come from men sort of being more passive, and because again, I remember how they raised us, and they raised men of my generation to think that women are basically men that don't have male genitals. That it's like, if you go hang out with your buddy, you're like, hey man, we'll just play whatever video game you want to play. And in man world, that's respectful. It's I'm deferring to you to make the decision of what video game we play. We're bros, that's respectful. In the woman world, saying you decide everything, that's just like telling a woman, I have no genitals. My genitals are miniature, I'm useless, and I'm completely spineless, and I'm maybe not even that interested in you. That's basically the signal you give when you can't even decide on basic things, right? Decisiveness is sexy, because that's what men sort of have a genetic gift for. It's shocking how that works out. It's shocking how things that work out to make men sort of successful, or the type of men that women want, are also very successful on a sort of genetic, scientific level as well. Interesting how that all works out. And that's something I hope to accomplish with this program. The problem is, guys, trying to, even when you're sort of semi-famous in Russia, trying to get someone to finance essentially a TV show is no easy task. But anyways, I'm going to then review the very end of everything here, of the final chat questions, and then I'm out. Pete says, finding a job and a home are the least of it. Finding a good non-extremist feminist woman and a school that doesn't have extremist feminist liberal. Well, finding a school that isn't feminist is easy in Russia. Blah, 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 about brainwashing. But, yeah, I mean, definitely finding a woman who will, again, if we have this sort of concept of men in the leadership role, I mean, we're not in a, first off, dictatorships don't even really exist. But, marriages are not dictatorships. We have free will of both partners, and, women have to be told that sometimes you want to go with that instinct to kind of go with your husband and be part of the team, So, yeah, because things like Sex and the City and these other Cosmo magazine and all this other stuff really tells women that's no, you can't listen to anyone. You can't follow. You have to be the leader, even though you hate making decisions and find them exhausting. Have you ever actually talked to a lot of women who find that they're exhausted from making decisions? And as a man, have you ever been exhausted from making decisions? Never, not once. So yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, okay. Or two, it's kind of like definitely motherhood can be very tiring, but it's sort of like, I've never heard of a woman being like, I'm tired of having interaction with my kids. Whereas with a man, it's kind of like, okay, wow, that was 3 hours of playtime. I'm done. Again, that's where we're weak. So let's see. Kurt is volunteered to break. I don't know. Oh, that's about the movie. Extended families, multi-generation grand must create calmer kids, less stress. Resident Bedouin says, maybe, I mean, sure. But again, if we want to talk about the traditional family that worked, that's what it was. And again, excuse me, a woman who's in her 60s is going to benefit. In fact, I tried this. It's just my mother-in-law at the time was very incompliant. I'll put it that way. But trust me, I put my money where my mouth is. She lived with us for like 3 years because she was already retired, so she's not working. Secondly, she wasn't physically capable of working anymore, too old. But even at her old age, she was certainly physically capable of feed baby, change diaper, watch TV. Well, that's not part of the job, but she did a lot of that. So, it's something where the grandma can come in and really, change the dynamic. Or even too, guys, because I know that my children are subject to a lot of evil propaganda. I've been beating it into their heads that when I'm old, I'm going to be on your couch, and when you have kids, I'll do a lot of the cooking. That's the deal. So my kids know I'm a pretty good cook and a very fast cook. So, yeah, and in fact, a special woman in my life just chimed in. Totally agree with the point on multi-generational families, because both of my grandmothers participated a lot in helping me out when I was a boy, and my grandfathers too, to an extent, especially on my mother's side. But unfortunately, neither of them lived that long through my childhood. But yeah, my grandmothers really helped out a lot, and that really took a lot of the pressure off of my parents, especially off of my mother, So, yeah, I totally see that. I think it's the way to go. And also it gives a lot of people, because I don't know about women, but one thing they say is that there's this sort of crisis of purpose for a lot of men. It's like, what's the point in my job? If a man gets old and he loses his job, he tends to just fall apart because he has nothing to do. Well, taking care of the grandkids to an extent, or helping them with something, or like I said, for me as an old man, I wouldn't mind even if I'm still around at 80 years old, just going in the kitchen and making macaroni and red sauce for the next generation of Kirby's there, that would give my life purpose, at least a little bit of purpose, and that gives you enough to kind of spiritually get through the day. So, hey, it's cool, I don't know. Yes, and New York is a prison. Okay. Making decisions, the woman basically held my family together. Maybe. but that meant that a certain person then in the male role wasn't making them, or was too passive, or sort of didn't care, or was just like, whatever, I'll do it tomorrow. If you look at the Asian societies, they tend to live by the old ways, and that the extended family live together. This helps build character and cultural strength. Yeah, it does. And also it exposes the children to, more people, and children need more role models of both genders. And again, so say, for example, you have only mom and dad. And let's say hypothetically, we'll say it's the opposite. Dad isn't really good at the work. The mom is out working. Well, what does that mean? That the kid is not going to get nearly as much affection and that sort of psychological motherly comfort, and they're not going to have much interaction with women. And then they're going to have kind of only like one male role model. Like, no, not the best situation. This seems to be a great project. Very surprised the government is not assisting its creation. What, the TV show? I don't care about that. I wish they would, but they don't. So that ain't gonna happen. The guys that I wrote the show with, maybe they could apply for a grant. I just don't know how. Tim, you're 100% right about the nuclear family being a new thing. For most of human history, people lived in extended households. Yes, exactly. That's what worked. That's what worked. And like I said, even in America, even in the context of that, having my grandmothers around when I was a kid was a huge help. And to be honest, I actually think I spent a okay amount of time like at my uncle's house and stuff. So yeah, we really need to be doing this. This whole we stick a woman in a box with 3 babies and expect her to be happy about that while the husband is at work. That's not how human society works. That is certainly not how a medieval society worked. No, that is not the answer. Not at all. We're not going to just shove women in a box and make them have many kids. That is not good for women's psychological health. In fact, there was a sort of anti-feminist woman whose name is Mary Hamilton or Hartman, something very English sounding. You can look for her. And she said that there's a tendency where if women can't speak 7,500 words a day, they actually start to experience like depression. And more sort of argument that generally women back in the old days did a lot of things together with a lot of talking and interaction. And this is good for female psychology. And again, 1950s perfect wife in a box with kids is going to be is going to have mental problems eventually, one way or another, unless they're born to be some kind of like hardcore loner. They're not going to be in a good mental state if they're completely isolated from friends and relationships and all this other stuff. Marriage can be likened to the military. A good man, leader, lets the wife make the decisions unless he feels it's a matter he should step in and state what the sole choice is. By the way, Tim, did you figure out setting up a crypto Bitcoin wallet? Well, yeah, I have, I have Binance and all that. But the thing is, I was told that you kind of have to tell people about it. So if you want to send me crypto of some kind, let me know, and I'll give you that. I'm all set for that. Is there a way we can send a specific questions to whom? I don't even understand that. Anyways, guys, I am very tired. This has been a long one. Anyways, Tim Kirby Russia signing out. So I leave kind of a longer outro, but I think you guys got the point.